Hello everybody, I'm KC and welcome to our edition of Let's Talk About, and welcome to the latest installment of To Infinity War and Beyond. At long last, it's time for Earth's mightiest heroes to assemble once again in Avengers Age of Ultron. After the Avengers reunite to acquire Loki's scepter, Tony decides to create something capable of protecting humanity from greater threats, but it turns into the biggest threat they've faced so far, Ultron. So together, they have to stop a villain of their own creation before it destroys them or tears them apart. I was surprised at the mixed reaction that Age of Ultron got when it came out. Personally, I thought it was an excellent follow-up to the first movie. Some parts it even does better. One of the things this movie benefits from is that no introductions are needed. At this point, all the characters have bonded with each other, so not only are their relationships different now, but the movie cuts right to the chase and opens with the whole team taking down a Hydra base. The set pieces and overall adventure is on a much larger scale than in the first movie. Last time they spent most of the story on the helicarrier waiting for the action to come to them, but this time they're traveling all over the world, spreading across 4 continents to film exciting, vibrant action scenes, from the opening battle to the action-packed chase scene in Korea to the kick-ass Hulk versus Hulkbuster fight. It's very well shot and rendered, but most of all, awesome. There's a lot that makes this movie stand out from the first one, but the biggest one to me is seeing how far the team has come and how far they can still fall. All of these very different characters are not only teammates, but friends now. A lot of relationships across the group have changed quite a bit since the last movie. They joke around and poke fun at each other, but they'll also blatantly call each other out when they think one of them has royally screwed the pooch. It really says something when the most entertaining scene is just Marvel's greatest heroes hanging out at a party trying to lift Thor's hammer. One of the biggest change relationships is Black Widow and Bruce, who are an item now. Sort of. I'll admit that I was surprised by this the first time I saw it, but it didn't come completely out of nowhere. Natasha was the one who convinced Bruce to join the Avengers in the first place, and they do both feel isolated because they both feel like monsters. It is unconventional, and I'm sure this sunk a lot of ships at the time, but it grew on me. What makes this so compelling is that it does make sense when you think about it, but what they understand about each other is also what is keeping them apart. A lot of people had a problem with the fact that Natasha was so dedicated to being in a relationship, but I don't mind it. We learn a lot about Natasha's past in this movie, how she was trained to be nothing more than a killer for hire, and to not let anything at all stand in the way of that. But it's clear that she wants to move past that, and that doesn't make her less of a strong badass. The fact that she is so open with her feelings around Bruce is actually very telling of her affection for him, since she's usually very guarded. Bruce, on the other hand, has been very open about how he feels about his monstrous side. The real obstacle is whether or not he can believe he deserves to be loved after everything he's done. And the answer, for now, is no. The scene where he flies away as the Hulk and hangs up on Natasha so she can't track him is one of the saddest moments in the movie. He's like a sad 2-ton green puppy. By the way, the CG on the Hulk has gotten even better, especially in capturing the expressions. After the events of the Winter Soldier, Cap's been relying on the Avengers to uphold the best, honest protection for the innocent they can, happy to keep up the fight for as long as he needs to. So after Tony pulls something like this, that does more harm than good, without telling anyone, he naturally gets frustrated. But he also gets frustrated with himself as yet another place he called home starts to fall apart around him. I know this may seem like we're going in circles with Steve, but it makes sense. Every time he's found somewhere he belongs, something takes that feeling away from him. But he also has to confront the idea that he may never have a life outside of the fight, that he may never be anything but a soldier. It may be something he'll never truly get over, but for now, he seems content with continuing the fight as long as he and his team fight the right way. Thor is busy foreshadowing other movies, and Tony, oh Tony, you mean well, but you're an idiot. I personally find it fascinating that Tony has a brilliant mind, the best of intentions, and all the resources in the world, but has no clue how to use them responsibly. Though I'm not as quick as some to brand Tony as the true villain, but what they do with him in this movie is good stuff. When I complain about Iron Man 3, you ever wonder what I wanted out of that movie? This is what I wanted. Tony fears a threat that he feels ill-equipped for, he creates something for the purpose of protecting the world, and it's that that very creation that becomes their biggest threat, he takes time to contemplate his actions while trying to fix it. Then he creates a protector the right way with the help of others, and fights alongside his friends and teammates to stop his creation and protect the world the right way. A villain created specifically from what Tony fears, his scene processing those anxieties with Nick Fury, and the ultimate resolution of accepting and sharing the responsibility to save the day was everything that was missing in Iron Man 3. And I'm glad all of that potential did amount to something in this movie. And after spending most of the last movie under mind control, we finally get some time with Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, played by Jeremy Renner. And he's a very good agent and a well-adjusted family man. I did not see that coming. I love it! This reveal actually adds a lot more context to his actions. Why he showed mercy to Natasha and became her best friend, and how he talks about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. He even calls them punk kids. And that moment he has with Wanda during the final battle makes so much sense when you realize he's a father. I know some people were disappointed that the Black Widow Hawkeye ship is now off the table in the MCU, but I really love what they have here. After all, the fact that she knows the secret family so well says a lot about their friendship. And I like that his wife isn't threatened by her. That's a bonus. But on top of the roller coaster the heroes we know and love are on, there are quite a few new characters in this movie. The most prominent are Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, who want revenge against the Avengers, particularly Tony, because of course, for the death of their parents, join Ultron under false pretenses, learn the error of their ways, and go on to help the Avengers. An arc as old as time, but not bad. But of the two, Wanda definitely gets more focus, and let's be honest, her powers are way cooler. Though she might have gotten more of the attention because...
You didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I have to give Joss Whedon credit. He said an Avenger wasn't going to make it out of this movie, and did everything in his power to convince us it would be Hawkeye. And this was not only a great twist, but it was a noble sacrifice for Pietro. He helped save the people of his homeland, and that's all he wanted. While I can't say I'll miss him, it works. And Elizabeth Olsen's performance as Wanda grieves for her brother is just so powerful. She literally rips Ultron's metaphorical heart out. That is just damn. Then there's the creation of the Vision, played by Paul Bettany, who, as I'm sure you all know, also played Tony Stark's AI, Jarvis. I haven't said much of anything about Jarvis in these reviews, but I always liked him and Paul Bettany's performance. And while I will miss Jarvis, I'm glad that Bettany got upgraded to a full-fledged Avenger. And I love the conception of Vision's creation in this movie. I was learning more about Marvel's other heroes at this point, so I knew who Vision was when I saw this, and unlike every other incarnation I've seen, he never serves Ultron. Instead, he's physically the best of all the Avengers combined and decides his own morality right from the start rather than being shaped by others. Despite being artificial intelligence, he's his own being. Sees the beauty in humans even though he knows he's superior to them. It's an interesting twist on the artificial creation character, and the live-action transition of his design is just stunning to look at. Also, he did this.
But we need to go.
I really wish I had seen this in theaters because I cannot even imagine what the reaction to that must have been. And last but certainly not least, Ultron, played by James Spader. Again, I knew who Ultron was by the time I saw this movie, and being familiar with the cold, calculating machine who wanted purely destruction, I originally wasn't crazy about this interpretation. I felt like he had too much personality, and it made his goals less believable in the process. But watching this again, I think I get what Whedon was going for, and I'm more open to this version of the character. There are things like the combination of bitter anger and melancholy lamenting that is very reminiscent of Frankenstein's monster, which makes sense given the circumstances of its creation. He waxes philosophically about how he's Earth's savior, but not in a detached way, more in a disgusted, superior way. It's an interesting take on the AI goes rogue and tries to destroy the planet storyline that we've seen a million times, with small things like needing someone to talk to, even though he's trying to destroy all life on Earth. Now appreciating the approach the character more, I really have to applaud James Spader's voice work. He really was the perfect choice for this role, but what else do you expect from Marvel Studios? I'm still not crazy about the face moving though. They used the old Ultron look of a jack-o'-lantern-like face on his Legion and the busted up versions of him, and they look really cool and creepy, but while the effects look very good on the main Ultron, I'm not a fan of the design choice. This is usually the point where I talk about the final battle or something, but I'm not sure what else I could gush about that I haven't already with the rest of this movie. While I don't think it's as organized and well put together as the Battle of New York, it's still a sight to behold and blends all of the elements this movie has been flaunting for the past 2 hours and brings a conclusion that, while it did leave scars, gave way to the hope of a better future. Overall, Avengers Age of Ultron was the best sequel I could have asked for the Avengers. Somehow, this movie had even more juggle than the previous one and was way more ambitious. With heart-pounding, well-paced action, outstanding characterization and performances, hilarious and somber moments for all involved, and the best Stan Lee cameo ever. I heard this movie was an exhausting process for all involved, especially Whedon, but as far as I'm concerned, all of that work was absolutely worth it. It's a shame that this movie seemed to suffer from not meeting people's very specific expectations or just from being overhyped, because while the first is still my favorite, there's a lot I admire about this movie, especially its theme. That there will always be destruction and threats and fears, but if you give in to fear and anger, you could become the thing you swore to protect against. But when you rise above that, you can become a part of something bigger and stronger than anything you could accomplish alone. And even though things may change and friends may part ways, there will always be new beginnings on the horizon. And we'll see many more beginnings and ends as the cinematic universe continues into Phase 3. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.